but Nietzsche is our focus. And the quiz question is, what do you think it would be like living as an Übermensch?
What is it?
So what you need to know is, what is an Übermensch, right? And an Übermensch, Uber, you hear, that's that car ride thing, right? Uber, right? But all it means in German is over. So Uber Ammergau, Ammergau is the town, and Uber is the little town that's above Ammergau, right? Unter would be under, right? So Uber is just over. The Übermensch, when first translated into English as some sort of icon, wasn't translated as Overman, but instead they translated it as Superman, and you got a comic book character who turned out to be still famous today, because people like to go watch different movies where somebody plays Superman, right? But that's not what Nietzsche actually meant. Remember, Superman is some alien that comes from a planet that has some incredibly dense material, and so for some reason he doesn't fall through to the center of the earth. He instead can just jump, and it looks like he's flying, goofy stuff. What Übermensch is for Nietzsche is the next evolutionary step. So he's aware of Darwin and the idea of evolution, and for Nietzsche, the next evolutionary stage in human development is when an individual is educated to the point where they are in agreement with Nietzsche, where they've had their study of Hegel and they realize that your meaning in life has to come from you, and instead of being a sheeple, right? We all say sheeple, someone who's in church like a sheep, so a sheeple, they're just doing what the priests tell you, believing them, etc. Instead, you've been educated to the point where you realize all of that is man-made, and why should you believe them? Their goal is to make you give them money. One way or the other, they want power over you, and the way they have power over you is by persuading you to believe what they're saying, and then you believe it, and you do what they suggest, etc., right? So you believe them, and you've now become a sheeple. Sheeple? Sheep. People. Pardon?
Get out.
So you're saying this
Churches?
question,
Sure, don't know.
People usually tithe or something in church.
So-
people that attend church.
They're like offerings.
Yeah.
do they have offerings
They
They walk around with the bowl.
and like to help the church?
Yeah, that's really, that's where the money.
No, question. So you're saying, for this question, they
No.
it's like the overman, but the next step of evolution, next evolutionary step, but they want to, you're technically saying, what is the next?
So the next evolutionary stage for Nietzsche is where
So you have to be like
your
Nietzsche.
mind enables you to overcome the kind of social persuasion that most people, right, most people are going to do and believe what their society tells them.
So it's being a contrarian?
Yeah, basically. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Well, it's totally up to you. That's the thing. Just like Kierkegaard, you have to create meaning for yourself, but Kierkegaard believes that is to select which narrative is the one that you're going to have faith in and then believe that one. With Nietzsche, no, it's not a matter of believing some narrative out there that's already created for you. You have to create your own narrative for yourself every day. Yes.
Isn't that fundamentally impossible? Like just on on a human level. I mean, isn't most of what we.
I'm not a follower of Nietzsche, but,
I don't think it's impossible. I mean,
I mean, like in the
I do.
biological sense. I mean, it seems like almost like on a social level. I don't think you
Yeah,
can
well,
really.
it's hard because of all the, well, if I wanted to be who I wanted to be, I would not be spending all my money on certain things like access and, or like sitting in this classroom, I would be doing other things for, you know what I mean? I would be sitting in this class, but it would be like, it's,
Well, you have to make choices independent and just generally.
what I'm saying is,
individualistic.
you have to do certain things for the society that we are in, but we can't be who we wanna be in our society. You know what, do you
Why
see
not?
kind of,
why can't I be a person who wants to support the society I'm in?
well, what if we didn't wanna be what we are in our society? What if we wanted to be something else, but we have to be what we are in the society?
I think
that
they're-
supports that on that society.
Yeah, we have free will like within the structure that is given, right?
Yeah.
We're not like going.
Yeah, even the fact that we're still technically here in this class is technically a choice. I mean, any of us.
Okay, that's true.
Can leave to a different country if we get sick of like Americans.
Yeah.
Americans.
by the way, this is excellent. This is another example of what philosophy class is supposed to be like, where everybody's all trying to figure stuff out. That's great. Thank you for all that. Of course, Nietzsche's the trigger. I'm just the culprit that gets to let you know, don't shoot the messenger. I'm glad no one got me in trouble for teaching Marx last class. You can get in trouble with some people. I mean, if you could get in trouble in this state for teaching something about sex in education, I'm sure you could get shot for teaching Marx. That's go figure.
People be wrong.
So I've heard this though. There are people who are Nietzscheans or claim to be Nietzscheans. One of them, by the way, I heard an interview where Madonna
Is a Nietzschean.
said she was a Nietzschean, a follower of Nietzsche. And one of the things that you might find annoying about Madonna is that she keeps recreating herself. Because the problem is, if you were if this is you,
She's fantastic. I mean, she could be a star. She could be great. She could be a major star. She is a star. The biggest star in the universe right now as we speak. Those little set. The director's got all kinds of things. The director's hot. He's here. He's here. He's going to be doing all kinds of things. He's going to change the color of the set. I like this. Get a bad photo. He touches one thing. He's shot. I swear. He's just.
Go to the song. Go to the song.
Anywhere, any street, you got it.
Ah.
Not a lot of time, I'll tell you that.
I wasn't saying shut up to anybody here.
Oh yeah.
How many
This song actually.
How many of you have actually heard this song before? Oh, so you have heard. You haven't? You have not heard.
It's Madonna, of course we've heard it.
Oh, no kidding.
Diamonds.
Well, you have to material.
Okay. Well, my favorite part though is where she goes, what? Some boys kiss me, some boys hug me. I think they're okay, yay. As long as they give me proper credit, I don't turn away, yay. Because we are living in a material world, and I am a material girl. That's the hard part for me.
She's proving Plato right. She needs to stop.
So she's a material girl, then the next show she's something else, and then the next show she's something else, and she doesn't want to be the same thing because then she's being what the audience wants her to be, which takes the freedom to create herself away from her. So, in that philosophical sense, she is constantly trying to recreate who Madonna is, so no one else is making her be a particular way. Yes.
She Buddhist? I mean, like, I didn't finish it Jewish, but I didn't think that's what
She was raised Catholic.
And then she made like she made like a children's like Quran or something. She had published that.
Oh,
and then
she was a children's educator at one point. She keeps recreating herself, and so that's an example of someone who thinks that that kind of creativity is the only time when you're absolutely experiencing the fullness of meaning. It's when you're creating yourself. That's when you have it. When you're just doing what you're supposed to, showing up with long hair and a beard, because you're trying to look like Dumbledore, wearing kind of, ties and things, trying to look. Oh wait, that's me. Yeah. Actually, I don't see anything wrong with that. Trying to be the same person. If you like that person, that's important. But yeah, the interpretation of this is that in order for you to have a meaningful life, you have to constantly recreate who you are, because otherwise you're basically trapped in kind of a constant repetition.
Are you saying that's what makes her a Nietzschean?
Well, it seems to me that most of the folks that call themselves Nietzscheans are not necessarily that well read in Nietzsche. Or, how do you know? I remember there was one of the Star Trek, where they had Nietzscheans against the Klingons or something? Anybody remember that? And the Nietzscheans were just basically like nihilists, who were destructors of different things, I suppose, or powerful. They just wanted to be, the dominant ones. Hitler clearly did not understand Nietzsche. Hitler wanted to be a member of the Übermensch. The Übermenschen are basically the next evolutionary step, and who are they? They're the ones that, are the ones that rule normal men, right?
So kind of like aristocrat.
yeah, like monarchy.
Well, I mean, it's not a throwback to the aristocracy, but instead, you could become an Übermensch yourself
Just
by joining
by
and by
spouting out orders.
and.
So-
You see,
I
so
think
that's
my dog. Does that make me an Uber woman?
Uberfrau. You could be an Uberfrau.
So basically, his baseline in life was just he didn't want to feel like a pleb. So from there, you figured that if you
Yeah,
could be
yeah.
there-
Well, it's kind of interesting because he does dive into religion, and he's convinced that Christianity is like the worst religion, because that's what makes people sheeple more than any other religion. He actually feels like the Jewish religion is pretty impressive, and the Greek religion. And so he's very impressed with the Greek religions. Where, remember at the beginning of our sojourn this semester, I talked about Achilles being kind of like Conan the Barbarian. What was powerful about that view was that you do what you want, and that's because you're the strongest, and you go out there and you slice and dice all the folks that are in between you and what you want. Yes.
From what I understand, when Nietzsche says the Übermensch, he says somebody that isn't like, as you put it, somebody that isn't a sheep, he doesn't necessarily mean everybody should, boss everybody around and try to attain that sort of status. He means that everybody should live their lives in a way that they don't feel like they're beholden to anybody else's system. Like people in Christianity they feel like they are beholden to follow the guidelines of Christianity so that they don't suffer in hell. You know, people in, say, our society today feel like they're beholden to feel a certain sort of way, and he believes that people shouldn't try to follow that, but people should try to rise above it and try to come up with their own point of views and try to come up with how they feel about themselves and what would make their life, you know, what would make their life more fulfilling in their opinion. So it's not necessarily like everybody go around and boss everybody around because that's what makes you an Ubermensch. No, it's more like everybody is told what to do some of the time. And everybody needs to recognize, is me doing that actually making me happier and making me and making sure I won't suffer more? Or is me doing that because of certain pressures placed on me and certain things that I don't have control over?
I think that's excellent.
So like being
Summary?
the boss of yourself.
I'm a little bit of a Nietzschean, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Here's where she visits the place where he